got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for popping on the show tonight. You are watching the Cryptid Podcast, and as usual, I'm your host, Daniel. You guys, tonight I've got a really cool team on the show tonight. I've got RD and Brenda Rhodes. They are the Bigfoot Finders. They've written 2 books, and I'll let them talk about that. And where I found these guys, I found them on TikTok of all places. So I just want you guys to know that I'm truly appreciative of all the support you guys show the channel, all the love. I have a $2.99 membership going right now for that. Once a month, I release a Saturday episode, and all members get early access to that. If at any time anybody would like to come on the show and share an encounter that they have, as you can see, you scrolling across the bottom of the screen, the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. The Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. So if you guys want to pop on the show, tell your story, or if you just have something you want to get off your chest, you can email me and I'll be more than happy to safeguard that. If you'd like me to share it, I'll be more than happy to read it. But you know what? Without further ado, let's get these 2 lovebirds on the show. RD and Brenda, welcome to the show. Oh, hey, there's a 3rd member of you guys' family.
Yes, this is Itty Bitty. He always has to be in our podcast.
Hey,
He'll jump in and out.
awesome. I love cats. So you guys, from what I understand, you guys are kind of still newlyweds. You guys have been together, married 2 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Best decision we both ever made, I think. So.
Yeah, I feel the same way about my wife, 100%. Now, you guys are from Jackson, Tennessee. Roughly around Jackson, Tennessee. I don't want to give you guys his exact location, so I'm just kind of give you like an area. I'm very familiar with Jackson, Tennessee. As we talked earlier, I lived in Millington, Tennessee for a couple of years, graduated high school there, had my last experience in Shelby County, Tennessee. So before we really get into any of the stories, what really brought you guys into this cryptid community to, one, look for these things, and then 2, you didn't publish 1, but you got 2 books. So how did all that come about?
Wow. Well, that's a great question. Yeah, that one just kind of starts with me. So I saw my first one. I was either 12 or 13. Walked straight across my grandfather's field in Rutherford County, Tennessee, in broad daylight, less than 100 yards away, right in front of me. And you just can't unsee. You cannot put Pandora back in that box. And so anyhow, obviously it freaked me out. I didn't know what to do with that. What do you do with an experience that everybody tells you you're crazy? Your family, my family at the time was okay, but once I got a little older and got married, they didn't want me talking about it. So I kind of suppressed that stuff for a long time. And looking back, I mean, we used to hear wood knocks at my grandfather's property all the time. Even as a little bitty kid. Second encounter, and this is really one of the passions that drives us, because the friend that was with me, he was 29 years old. I was either 16 or 17, fixing to turn 17. But he wound up taking his life within a year or 2 of that event, just because I don't know if the encounter caused it, but I know he went home with severe PTSD that night. And Daniel, I'll share a little bit about that story, if that's okay, because it is kind of a major force. We simply believe the world deserves to know the truth about these beings. But my friend's name was Benny. So Benny, God rest your soul. And we were on the East Fork of the Stones River. And the reason I give exact locations is because we find these everywhere we go, just so there's water around. We don't have any secret research spots, because we just look for a place on the map that looks good, go by how it feels in our guts, and we show up. I wouldn't suggest going to this place because most of it's owned by MTSU now. Everything's changed down through there. So it's a whole different world. This was in the about 85 or 86. And we're camping out on the bank of the Stones River, and Benny and I are just sitting there on the gravel bar. And he makes the remark, he says, and he was a rugged outdoorsman. I mean, this guy, he's literally the guy that could take two rocks and start a fire. And anyhow, I love fishing, but that was kind of my passion. I was in it to catch some smallmouth. It was in April, and we were on that gravel bar, and about 9:30 at night, fixing to go to bed, had a fire lit out there, campfire. It was a pretty dark night, though. And Benny looks at me and he says, man, it sure has gotten quiet outside. And when he said that, it was honest to goodness like a locomotive hit the water. I mean, it was just something hit the water within 10 seconds of him saying it sure has gotten quiet outside. And it didn't just scare us. We both literally landed on standing on our feet. We were sitting down on the riverbank. We landed on our feet shaking. And he said it came from up there. He's using some language and saying, man, it came from up there. What was that? I said, I have no idea. And so we're literally 35, 40, 50 feet from the end of the gravel bar. And it sounded like this thing was right off the end of the gravel bar. Whatever, we didn't know what it was. And so it hit the water, though. The water's still pretty cold. This is early April, kind of a middle Tennessee river there. And it's probably, we guessed, about 7 feet deep. I did a lot of fishing up around there before there was a dam that collapsed. Before the dam collapsed, it used to be deeper. And anyhow, we get up to the end. Benny has an old flashlight. He holds his flashlight out. It's horrible, barely working, one of those old D batteries. He shakes it. And we look out there, and we're looking at two red eyes, and they're, honest to goodness, no exaggeration, they're the size of silver dollars, and they're 6 inches apart, 5 or 6 inches apart. And we kind of start to tremble, but we're amazed. We don't know what it is. And then he starts saying, it's a monster. It's a monster. And all that was sticking up was like, probably we couldn't tell that good, but it wasn't the whole body at all. It was just the head, or part of the head. And just part of the head was like that big. It was just humongous. This thing was huge. And we sit there and kind of let our eyes adjust because we had been around the fire, and Benny's leaning out with the flashlight, and we watch it, and he keeps saying it's a monster. And I said, Benny, it can't be a monster, man. I knew cows came down to get water there. I thought maybe a cow had fallen in the water, but it almost sounded like it was so quiet before it happened. It almost sounded like whatever there hit the water was dropped into the water. I mean, it was just unbelievably loud, almost an explosive splash. And then this thing, we go down there, it's looking at us. And as we look at it, it tilts its head to one side, and then it straightens it back up. It tilts it to the other side, and it straightens it back up. And it's like, this thing's trying to figure us out. That's really what's crossing my mind. But at the same time, Benny's up front. He's right at the water. It's no more than 20, probably 25 feet out into the waterfront. He's leaning out. The flashlight isn't much. The eyes are almost self-illuminating. I don't know if it was his flashlight, but it wasn't much to put on those eyes. And then it tilts its head the other way, like it's trying to figure us out. And we literally sat there for probably 2 minutes looking at this. And he's just saying, it's a monster. It's a monster. And he's freaking out. And I'm not brave at all. I'm in denial. I'm like, this can't be happening. And so, right as we didn't know what to do, it pushed out kind of toward the center, but at least around the gravel bar a little bit. And he's got his flashlight on and he's following it, and it starts going downstream in a super fast zigzag pattern. It outruns the current of the water big time and stops directly in front of our campfire. It's no more than 20 feet out. We have some of the light of the campfire. We can see the silhouette of the head. We can see the brow ridge. It looks like it's probably underwater from maybe the mouth, or above water from the mouth up. And we're just shaking, and we follow it down there, and we're just watching it. And all of a sudden, Benny remembers he brought his 12-gauge shotgun. So he said, hand me my shotgun. And I'm still just like freaking out because I didn't know what it was. I mean, you can't process it, even though I'd seen one walk across my grandfather's field. That was a full body view. That was a tag. That was a full body Bigfoot just walked across the field and looked at me, and literally I felt an impression of words. But this one, I did not know for years this was more than like a Sasquatch. But anyhow, it tilts its head again, and I hand him the gun. He says, hold this light. He hands me the light, and I'm just shaking. And he pulls the gun up to his shoulder. And when he pulls the gun up to his shoulder, it just goes under. It goes blah, 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 with like 6, 7 big bubbles. And it's gone. And I'm left there shaking, holding the light. Benny's shaking, holding his 12-gauge shotgun. It's got buckshot. It's loaded with buckshot. And we don't say a word for probably 5-10 minutes. We're just standing there looking out over the water, and it is dead silent. I mean, everything is silent. By the way, that's something we don't run into in most of or a lot of our encounters. We see and photograph a lot where there's still noise going on nowadays, but that night it was silent. And Benny says it's going to come up out of the, it's got to breathe. It's going to come up out of the water. It's going to kill us tonight. And he said, we got to stay, just have watches, and I'll take the first watch, and then I'll wake you up and you can watch it. And I wasn't brave, Daniel. I was just in denial. I was like, I don't know what I just saw, but I'm not convinced it's a monster. If he'd have said Bigfoot, I'd probably just laid down in a fetal position and started sucking on my thumb or something. But he didn't do that. He just kept saying monster. And I'm like, what, the Loch Ness monster? I mean, I don't get what he is saying monster. And since it was in the water, that was before internet, and that was before YouTube and all this stuff, and before podcast, and you just don't realize these things get out in the water, and they're very agile and very good in the water and things like that. And so Benny stayed up all night. I went to sleep, and the next morning I woke up, instead of spending the whole weekend on the river there, we loaded up, didn't say a word. And the last thing he said was, it never came up for air. And now it may have, but if it did, it swam a couple hundred yards around the corner. But anyhow, that's the last thing he said about it. We loaded up, went straight back to the truck, loaded the boat up, went home, didn't say a word on the way home. And within a couple of years, Benny had taken his own life. Now, I'm not saying that caused him to do it, but what I am saying is that was a contributing factor in his mental state, because he was totally a different person until he moved away in a few months. I never saw him again, but that's really the fuel that lights our fire, if that makes sense. So that was a kind of a baptism by fire as far as learning about cryptids. And it wasn't until years later, in retrospect, that we start seeing some stuff on YouTube and hearing Coonbo and some different guys talk about him getting in water and hearing about the big red eyes. And I'm like, holy crap, that's what Benny and I saw that night. No wonder he said monster. He was out front. I was peeking over his shoulder. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the fuel. In my previous marriage, my ex-wife didn't like me talking about it or anything like that. And so when Brenda and I started talking, probably 3.5 years ago, we'd been talking. We worked together. We just worked for the same company, 1,600 miles apart. But when we started talking more seriously, I told her, and she was already planning a trip to Tennessee from Phoenix, Arizona. And I told her, I said, I want you to know I saw a Bigfoot growing up. At least I saw 2, actually. I didn't start with 2. You don't want people to think you're weird. And I'd like to go try to get some pictures of one. And she says, hey, let's do it.
Well, let me real quick, because I'd like to get in on, I'd like to touch on the sighting you had at your grandfather's property. But Brenda, was it RD that got you involved in this, or did you have a previous encounter prior to?
It was all him.
All him.
I'm originally from Michigan and moved to Arizona when I was in my 20s. Really big into aliens and UFOs, and that was, one of the main contributors why I moved to Arizona. Except for I loved the 115-degree weather. But never even thought about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dogman, little people, or anything. Yeah. Didn't have an encounter, but always was open to anything strange and unusual.
Yeah.
And so when he said, "Hey, told me his story," of course I'm going to believe him. He had no reason to make up some story like that to me.
Like, who started a conversation like that? Hey, I really like you. I'd really like to get to know you better. By the way, when I was 9 years old, I saw a Bigfoot. Like, who starts with that? And you mentioned Michigan. Where in Michigan are you from?
Kalamazoo.
Okay. I was just in Bay City. And we normally drive up through the UP. And 1887, Michigan Dogman. So, but yeah, that's fascinating. So, hey, RD, let's go ahead and get into, if you'd like to, get into that sighting you had on your grandfather's property.
Absolutely. But let me just say, the Lord sent me the right woman, just as you alluded to. We're
Yep.
just a perfect match, and with everything we do, her attitude's yeah, let's do it. It's just amazing. But anyhow, so on my and I know there are people that have heard this before, but on different podcasts or on our TikTok or whatever. But so I don't dig as deep into it, but that was, even looking back, you kind of see some things, but I was probably 12 or so, either 12 or 13. It was in the early fall. My grandfather had a pond dug in the center of a field. He had 100 acres, but it was separated into two parcels. One was about 39 acres. That's the one he lived on. The field was in the very back part of his property. And anyhow, I went back there by myself. It was a weekend that I was there. I called it scouting for deer, but really what I had my 20 gauge single shot shotgun with quail load in it. And just went back there to kind of check out the deer stand, see if the pond happened to be holding water, because he probably had the only 100 acres in Rutherford County, Tennessee that wouldn't hold water anywhere, although I love fishing. And so I went back there that day, and I just remember it being very surreal. It was what we call his sagegrass field on the back part of his property. And it was in a place called Las Casas. And I don't mind we'll tell anywhere we see them, because we can, normally we find them everywhere we go, just so those areas are conducive. But that was in Las Casas. And when I got back there on the pond, I'd always get up on the elevated pond and circle around and look in the pond to see if there were any deer tracks, or to see if it happened to have any water in it. And then I would look around because the pond was elevated. And I always paid close attention to the far end of the field because it had my deer stand in it. And at the far end of the field, Daniel, my grandfather had cleared off everything there against the fence row, except for about 8 or 9 really big trees. So the field was probably 250 yards long or so, but it was only maybe 80 yards wide. And he had cleared off this entire strip. And so down at that end, when he had the pond dug, he cleared off that part as well, to give us access to those bigger trees, and to just open it up. It was just a lot of underbrush there. And there was just really short grass. When I stood up on the pond, you could just barely see it. It was like just starting to grow down there. And the really thick part of his property was I guess what I would call the right side, but it was the furthest away from all the houses and everything. And I remember standing up on that field. It was just, the wind was blowing, the sagegrass was just leaning over, and it just things felt a little strange that day. Maybe, I don't really know how to put it, but I remember looking out toward that corner of the field, because I almost saw I saw some movement, but it was almost like there was something in my eye. It was like it was blurry. Just things were blurry in that corner of the field. I know that's strange, but I just tell it like it happened. And so all of a sudden, out of this, what I would call blurriness, and I was rubbing my eye because I thought it was me, but out of this blurriness, it looks like this guy's coming walking out of it, And I remember as a 13-year-old kid, my first thought is, oh no, I'm going to have to tell this guy I can't hunt on my grandfather's property. He doesn't need to be out here. And so, but then I noticed he's still under the shade, but he's walking out, and I noticed it really, really dark brown in color, everything. I'm like, what's he doing this time of year? It was too early to be, have coveralls on and a toboggan and everything, because there was an area right here that as you step out the sun, you could tell there was no hair. There was I couldn't see any hair right here. So it almost looked like a toboggan, because that's probably at about 80 yards or so. I don't know. But anyhow, as he steps out, and he steps up from under the shade, I can see the sun hitting hair, like fur. It was hair is what it was. It looked just like the sun hitting, maybe it was almost glistening in the sun. And I remember my first thought was, I'm looking at a Bigfoot, and I just could not believe it. And I'm stood there. I've got this 20 gauge shotgun. It's holding at a 45-degree angle right there. I'm looking at this, and I can feel my thing just thumping in my neck. I don't even know if I'm breathing, and I'm looking straight at this thing, and it's walking. And the first thing I noticed, one of the first things was, its arms were not exceptionally long, but it wasn't proportioned like a person. But the other thing was there was a slope in the back. It kind of, the way I describe it, it wasn't like it didn't have a neck. I heard people say that, whatever, but it was more like the slope in the back started from a lower spot than a human's. So there's a certain vertebrae where our neck slopes forward, but this one, it was almost like from down between the shoulder blades or something. It was just sloped funny. And it was almost like it was scooting, like it was skating on ice, or it was just weird looking.
So it was like
and I remember,
so it was like gliding as it was moving.
it was almost like a gliding. Yes, it
Okay.
didn't. It never locked its legs. I know that's even as a young kid. I'm like, this thing's walking funny because it never locked its legs. It was just, and when it hit the sun, and maybe it takes 2 or 3 more steps. It never stopped, but it never walked fast. It was almost from the very first second I saw it, I thought, whatever this is knows I'm here and wants me to see it. And it's almost like there's this knowing inside of you that you know these things, but I'm like, it wants me to see it. And then I'm like, I'm just frozen, and it turns, and it doesn't turn its head. It kind of swings its body, but it keeps walking the exact direction it's walking, following the fence row. So it's looking more at me, but it's still walking the same way. And as it steps, it walks, it looks straight at me. And when it looked at me, I felt words. I felt the words, don't mess with me and I won't mess with you. Mess with me and you'll regret it. I felt those words. People can call it mind speak, they can call it what they want to, but I'm just telling you, I felt words. And I'm like, I didn't say anything because I was frozen, but I'm like, I made the decision. I'm not messing with you, not with a 20 gauge with swell load. Anyhow, and so I started plotting in my mind what I'm going to do, because it's going across the field. It's going toward the back of, somebody had a trailer up there, and then my grandfather's house was maybe half a mile from it, back in the woods. And but I'm thinking animals follow logging trails, and I came in on a logging trail, and there was a logging trail that followed the fence row, took a left, and those 2 logging trails were going to intersect. And so, of course, no internet, no knowledge about Bigfoot or anything, but I'm looking at how fast it's moving. And I'm thinking, when it gets out of sight, I can move a whole lot faster than that. And so the moment it vanished, I just took off and ran all the way back to my grandparents' house. And I told them, I said, I just saw a Bigfoot. I knew what a Bigfoot was. I'd seen one In Search Of, and maybe something else. I don't know. But I've seen I didn't know it was a Patterson Gimlin film, but, it was kind of famous. I'd seen that, and I told them I just saw a Bigfoot, and their response has always kind of taken me back too, because I think they genuinely believed me, and I think they were aware those things were out there. And so it wasn't what they said; it was more in how they handled it. And so anyhow, that's that. That's that encounter in a nutshell.
That's amazing. I loved hearing that. Holy smokes. So let me ask a couple questions about what you saw. So about how tall would you guesstimate it to be?
I've always guessed 7.5 feet, because, and the reason I've got a good idea is I don't like heights a whole lot. And I had a deer stand up, and that deer stand was about 8 feet high, and it walked right under the deer stand. There was a big maple, and it had a bunch of limbs on it. It wasn't a climber. It was just a stationary deer stand. It was about 8 feet, and this thing's head was right under it. And so it was obviously when I saw it, I thought, if that's a person, that's a big person, because I had a janitor at school that was 7'3". Now, this thing looks a little bigger than my janitor. Definitely bulkier. I mean, definitely bulkier. It was not ripped. It was not muscular. It was just hairy. Yeah, it was just there. Like I said, the face had no hair. I know that. Everything else looked like it had just dark brown hair. So.
Okay. If you had to guess on how much you think this thing weighed, what would your guesstimate be?
Yeah, I've always guessed 350 to 450, but I think maybe just a touch, probably closer to the 450, because as I understand and have read more about how that weight gains exponentially as you add a foot or so to stature, I'd say probably close to 450.
Yeah, that's a big boy. And about how long?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we did a TikTok video of one that we blew up to life size, 8 foot cutout. We call him Pat. We got him at Land Between the Lakes, walking away. He's jacked. He's like a bodybuilder. and we blew that video up. And just to stand beside something that size, it's not just the height. Because we just took this picture we blew it up to 8 feet. And so to stand beside something like that, it's when you see it in real life, it's different, you know.
Oh, for sure. How long did this sighting take? Like, how long were you standing there watching it?
I always guessed. So it walked across an 80-yard opening, and it just walked at a normal, almost deliberately slower speed.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always guessed 45 seconds or so, but it was big steps. So
Yeah.
45 seconds maybe. You know, but it was there the whole time. There was no denying I was watching what I was watching. And of course it'll mess with you psychologically when you see something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So let's talk. You know what? You mentioned something, and some people are going to catch it. Land Between the Lakes, Pat.
Sure.
What? I mean, I don't have a picture of him. Let's talk about Pat.
Sure.
When did this happen? Where were you? I know you were Land Between the Lakes.
That was our best day of Bigfoot finding ever.
That was the very first day I was here, and we went out. And at the end of the day, getting ready, we walked around down this path. And he always told me, if you smell something, take pictures. If you feel something, take pictures. And we're walking down this path, and that nasty, stinky, dirty sock smell just came upon me, and he's like 20 feet maybe ahead of me, and I just standing there taking pictures. I don't even remember exactly where that lake is at.
So I mean, it's a lake called Lake Hematite, Land Between the Lakes. I can't remember what county it's in, but we were on the backside of that dam, and there were other people. There were other people there, and we had that smell. And I told Brenda that day, because this was our first day out ever. Our first day, we got the Bigfoot on the cover of the book that day. The very first day, it was Samsung Galaxy S8 phones that we had. This is in 2023. They were still working in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So we've upgraded to S23 Ultras now with a much better camera. Still don't use the big hand cannons, but so yeah, we both just getting shit. We didn't really know what we were doing. We were green as could be. We'd listened to some of Scott Carpenter's stuff, and kudos to Scott, and what a great man it seems like he was. I was trying to reach out and meet him when he passed. So God rest his soul as well. But we just took 6, 7, 8 pictures and got back to the car. Didn't really see anything. Didn't think anything about it. We were planning our wedding, and I was going to have to go off on a business trip for a week to Roanoke, Virginia. And what happened was we get on that plane going to Roanoke, or I get on the plane. Brenda's at home, and we just didn't even want to be apart. Never do. But I can't use my phone. So I'm like, we're sitting there for a long time on the plane. So I put it's in airplane mode. So I said, well, I'm going to look through those pictures again that we took that day. And I started looking through just some fun pictures we took, because we had all kinds of great fun pictures. And then I started going through the pictures that we took that day on the back of that lake when we had that horrid smell. And next thing I know, I'm looking at faces, and I'm not talking about the pareidolia type faces. I mean, there's anybody say, hey, I see faces here, faces there. I mean, we have some that may be questionable, and I admit to folks, hey, some of this could be pareidolia. It all can't be. Period.
Mm-hmm.
It can't. But having said that, I was looking straight at faces, and a chill came over me on that ride to Roanoke. And then the next one I found was Pat, and he just looks like a gigantic, jacked, V-tapered Sasquatch walking away in the distance. There are some trees in between, but you can see him. If you look close enough at the picture, you can see the sole of his foot, because his right calf, his right foot's lifted up, and his humongous calf. His shoulder is just huge. He's got something under his left arm. He literally looks like a bodybuilder. And so we've got a life size. We blew a poster up to 8 feet that we carry with us sometimes of him. He's pretty cool.
That's crazy. So let's get into some of these pictures you sent me. I'm gonna put a picture up, and I'll tell you what you labeled it, and then
Okay.
kind of Let me know what we got going on the story. So this one, you guys, is labeled Bear Squatch.
Okay. Yeah. So with my job, I travel all across, Tennessee, dip into Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Kentucky. And this was up near this was near Dyersburg, Tennessee, if you know where that is.
I know exactly where Dyersburg, Tennessee is.
This was up near, it's north of Dyersburg, but I can't remember the exact community. Because we've gotten really good pictures and actually had visuals that we never even went back to the place because we found them at so many different places. As weird as that sounds, people like me used to bug me. I hated people that got on and said, "Hey, I saw this. I'm like, cut it off, click. You're a nut." And all I can do is apologize to those folks because it is possible, and I don't know if it's just some sort of a connection or what, but we see a lot and photograph a lot. But anyhow, I'm talking to Brenda on the phone. If I want to have a visual sighting, the number one thing I can do is be at work, stop for a quick break on the side of the road somewhere near a body of water and be talking to Brenda. And so that was the case there. And I'm like, holy crap, I think I'm looking at something, And so I just take a few pictures. One reason we only use phones and not big Canons or whatever is we try to be very indiscreet. It's not just about the quality of the picture. It's about being able to get one off and not disturb these creatures anymore than you have to. And anyhow, when we got home, zoomed in, you can see it almost looks like almost like a dogman face on the one to the right there. I think I apologize if anybody's out there. I see the picture very small because it's just on my cell phone there at a distance.
Just he's like shrunk. It reminds me of just like a midget Sasquatch.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just short.
It has hops like a human or legs like a human as opposed to, it looks like it anyhow. And so that's, there's another one looks like with his head turned sideways in that photo. Almost always when we get a cryptid photo, there'll be secondary players in the picture. That's another reason that we strongly believe that there is a multi-dimensional or paranormal aspect to these creatures. And we don't just believe, we've got pictures of, we've seen the weirdest stuff. This ain't in the tip of the iceberg, but yeah, that, we just named that one Dog Man or Bear Squatch because it looked kind of like a dog man, but it had the straight hocks, and everybody wants to label them different, but these things aren't really what people think they are. So everything's not going to fit into a box with cryptids.
So let's look at this next one. You got this one labeled as Big Lips. And
Okay.
you guys didn't even have to circle this. That it like jumped right as soon as I saw it. I'm like, oh my gosh, because what I'm looking at is I'm looking at a mouth, and then I'm looking at a nostril. I'm looking at a right nostril, the upper lip, the cheek, the right cheek, and then the right eye socket. That's what I'm looking at, you guys.
No, that's not flat faces.
No, he's got big lips.
You can say, okay. Yeah, so Big Lips, that's a wild story too. And that was another visual. And having said that, that's two visuals in a row that we had. Only about, like I said, maybe 1 out of 20 of these creatures do we see before photographing. This one, I don't mind telling folks where we work because most people aren't going to go there. And, we find them everywhere just so those areas meet our criteria. But this was in Laurel Hill Wildlife Management Area down near Wayne. I think it's close to Waynesboro, Tennessee or something. But we go over the crest of the hill. We're looking down the hill at about 200 yards probably. And I stop and we get my cell phone out and I'm kind of looking through my cell phone to zoom it. And I told Brenda, I'm like, holy smokes, I'm looking at one. And so we couldn't believe it, but we're too far to take a picture. But I said, I know I'm looking at Sasquatch. Well, what we do, that most people, if they don't get the picture there, they think they're burnt. We don't care. If we see one, if we see any sign of one, we'll go to that area and we'll just start taking pictures. They're always still around. You're always going to get pictures. Most people, we tell all about it in our book, The Bigfoot Finders, how we get the pictures. But once you learn how and when to take pictures, that's more important. Don't even worry about seeing them. But this one we saw. So we get down there, we took some pictures. We found him later and we're like, I show them to waitresses at restaurants. They're like, that looks like a gorilla.
Yeah.
It just does. But we've got the originals on most of those as well. So it's not just like we have just the zoom ins. But that one, though, when we panned around and took photos, that's where we have that window or that what I call a portal. And we've got many. We've taken 4 or 5 different portals, and almost every time there's cryptids around those as well. And so some of them look different. Some of them have light shooting out of them. Some of them would be dark, but many times they're very square compared to the area the creatures are in. And so but that's how we got Big Lips. And we only saw him from a long distance, and we took the pictures when we got down closer, zoomed to him, and found him later.
So a perfect segue to portal. So you sent me a picture of a portal, and at first I wasn't really sure what I was looking at. So then I just kind of blew it up a little bit. And then before we started the interview, you said it's kind of like a square. It's almost in the center of the picture.
Yeah.
And here's that picture. And I can see it now.
You see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
Almost looks like it's got 2 eyes looking at it or something.
it doesn't look natural, because I mean here's the thing. In nature, there's a couple of shapes that if they are in nature, it's very few and far between when you see them. Squares and circles, rectangles. I mean, yeah, you have these geometric shapes that you will see naturally, but you're just not going to go around every single day. Oh, look, there's a perfect circle, or there's a perfect rectangle, or there's a perfect square. You see things like that. Human involvement has happened. So when you sent that picture, and then I started messing around with it, I was like, oh, okay, I can see it, and it pops out. So, I'm just going to get into a couple of these right now. Is one thing that I love to hear people talk about, because I'm fascinated by it, are little people. And so, and we're not talking about like Peter Dinklage or anything like that. We're talking about a cryptid. And so I have 3 pictures that you sent. And so here's the first one. This is called Little Person. And it's a little bit blurry, but within that circle, I can definitely make out a pair of eyes, the bridge of a nose, and then I can't really make out the mouth, but I can definitely see the 2 eyes. I can see like an eyebrow, and then definitely a bridge of a nose and a nose.
Yeah, so that was our very first day ever. That was at Land Between the Lakes, and that was right where we got the Bigfoot on the cover of our book. That's also where we got Pat. That's where we got Brenda had one of the most amazing dogman pictures ever in the history of the world, except for her camera was even crappier than my S8 Active. And so we have, obviously upgraded big time on that. But there was so much weirdness in that series of photos that we got. If I told you how many Bigfoot we got out of about 13 photos, as well as little people embedded in there, animal heads stuck in trees around them. I don't think that was physical. I don't know if that was physically there, just something that was showing up on the paranormal side. But there was so much weirdness involved with those series of photos. And we got 3 little people right there at once with our first round of Sasquatch. And by the way, the first day we went out, we thought it was going to take us 10 years to get one picture of a Bigfoot. We didn't know any of this other stuff was real. This is a little over 2 years ago. I mean, we didn't even know if we believed in Dogman. We hoped maybe we could get a Bigfoot. We thought, and then we get this the first day, and it's like, it's just shaking our worldview to the core. And so, but that was the first day I'd ever, and there were other people around, and that's where we got a bunch. That's where we got Pat. That same day, standing at the same place in that same second, we're getting little people in Dogman too. So anybody that acts like these things are just natural and they fight each other and stuff, we always get them in the same photos. So.
Right. So we have another one here. It's called Manila Little People.
Oh yeah. If that's the one kind of tan looking, yeah. So we got Bigfoot in that same, standing right there in that same area. We got Sasquatch. We got a juvenile Sasquatch in a tree, and that's in Manila, Arkansas. That's a place called Big Lake Wildlife Management Area. Goodness, I hope the Men in Black don't show up. But anyhow, it's okay. They're everywhere. It doesn't matter. You don't have to go to Big Lake. But anyhow, just very, very typical. So if anyone wants to photograph these things, of course, we tell all about it in our books and stuff. But if anybody wants to, go to these wildlife. We get more on wildlife management areas than anywhere else. We go to the end of the gravel road. Usually there's water around, and where gravel road kind of meets a little trail or something. Just take pictures there at the end. You get a bunch of them there, and then you zoom through those pictures. And that's what we did. It was just a good looking area. And we like areas that have a long line of view, because most of the time in the summer, the woods are so thick you can't see far. But if an area has a long line of view, these things are very curious about people, no matter what type of cryptid it is. So always, I'd say 95% of the ones, Daniel, that we photograph are looking straight at us. So we see 5%, but 95% are looking straight at us, and we don't even know they're there.
All right, so let's look at this one, Viking little people.
Yeah.
This one, as I'm looking, you have the outline. I can definitely see something in the lower part of the picture. Now, me being devil's advocate here, okay? Yeah. I had to really, really blow it up, and then when you get to the top part of the picture, that's where you see. It looks like the eyes, the bridge, the brow, I mean, and then the nose, the bridge in the nose and the nose. But if I wouldn't have spent the time that I did looking at this, I would have said this is pareidolia. I definitely see something there. To me, the legs look like it could be part of a tree. To me, it still looks like it's part of a tree.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely seeing a face here. Now, whether it's pareidolia or not, you know, I get tons of pictures sent to me, guys. I really do. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm in a ton of groups, and I see all these pictures where people will circle something. It's pareidolia, and I can't see nothing. But with this one, I can definitely see from like the nose to the bridge, the brow ridge, you know. So I find this one really fascinating as well.
Well, one thing is when we look, we don't just look, hey, is there something there? We look at the context. So we got another Bigfoot, and this is at Rock Island State Park, right off the highway. Cars driving by, and we got another Sasquatch that's in our book. We call him Whiteface. We got him there at that same area, standing without moving our feet from one place to the other. So the presence of other cryptids is also a deciding factor. But depending on how deep we want to go down the rabbit hole talking about portals, we have pictures in succession of these things stopping and blending and turning into their background and turning into vines and turning into trees. I know people can't wrap their brain around that. That gets and the truth is, Daniel, they're 100% natural. They have weight, they have a scent, they reproduce, they eat food, they do everything a natural creature could do. They make noise, but they're also multidimensional. And we've seen them do things. We have seen with our own eyes. Like, we got some good pictures the other day. Something happens. It happens all the time. It was a visual sighting. Brenda picks up her phone. She saw it, picks up the phone goes boom. Totally, like, it won't take a picture. Everything's black. That happens over and over and over again. There is a supernatural element to these creatures, and they don't just blend into their background. It's beyond that. Guaranteed. I don't, I tell people this, that photography, in my opinion, aside from having a dead body or a live specimen, is the highest form of research, because we can dig back through those pictures and see all this different stuff. And so you're right. Some of them look like half tree and half creature, but there's obviously something there. And that's true. And it's a deep rabbit hole, man, but you're exactly right.
You know, and here's the thing, like I've just recently, someone sent me some pictures, and I'm like, I can't see what you're trying to show me. You're saying it's this, but I can't see this. And they got all like mad. If you can't see it, then what are you even doing this? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't see it, But again, just like I mentioned to you before we started, you guys have sent me a bunch of pictures, and some of them I just couldn't make out, no matter how hard it was. Guys, I wanted to see something. I was trying my hardest, but like I said, and I've said it many, many times on mine and Josh's live podcast on Mysteries Unknown. Now, this is a safe place, and I'm not going to put something up that I can't see, because I don't want anybody to come back at you and say, "Oh, these people, they're crazy." That's just not, that's not cool. But everything that I'm posting that I'm going to show, because the next one I'm showing is pretty crazy.
There's times that RD will see one in a picture and I won't be able to see it. And I'll tell him, I said, I don't see anything there.
Yeah.
And he'll point it out. And I said, I'm sorry, I still don't
Yep.
see anything. And
Yeah.
he'll just, okay, do
Yeah,
it.
we don't pass the Brenda test. We don't
Right.
like to show low level stuff because it does cause controversy. I get that, man.
So here's another one that I think it's funny in a way. To me, it's funny, and this one is called Between Logs Peeking.
Still don't know. Oh yeah. So
You know-
that one, this is how crazy this thing is, Daniel, is that one. I sell walk-in tubs. I travel across, like I told you, 5 different states. I show up to a customer's house. She's not home. I'm standing in a customer's yard in Mississippi. And I look over there and I see those logs and I'm like, there's something there. You just know in your knower. So in our book, in the Bigfoot Finders, we call it your spidey senses. But you just know. And so I took some pictures, moved on, got home, and I'm like, man, that's a pretty dang good picture. That one's from pretty recent. We've only been doing this for 2 years. So yeah, that one's pretty recent. But that's from northern Mississippi. I can't remember, probably close to a little south of Corinth, Mississippi.
Yeah, my mom's buried in Corinth National Cemetery. Yeah, so she was in the Navy, and I lost her in 2017. So, yeah, she's Navy vet, proud Navy vet, and that's where she's buried. But it's really cool. You and I, you two and I, we're crossing paths, but at different times. I got another one here. It's called Hatchy Dogman.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So that one, man, of course, what we see, it doesn't look like it has any hair, and we've got some probably dogman pictures that I consider better. We just sent you a small sampling, man.
Right.
I know you felt like we're inundated, but we've got tons.
Now tell me.
River.
Now, tell me if I'm incorrect, because I want to tell you what I see.
Please.
So if I'm looking, we're both looking at the video. So above where it says Dogman 1, to me, that's a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm looking at this picture, to the right of the tree, this is where I see something.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's part of another tree, because I can see the V at the bottom of this picture where another tree is branching off like this, but something is standing between that. Am I correct in what I'm looking at?
That is correct. It almost looks like a right arm. Its face is pointing away from the tree, and it almost looks like a right arm hanging down there. And it has no hair. It's just weird. And of course, we got some other stuff that day. I think we actually got a little person right there in that area as well. But we took that one kind of across one of the Oxbow lakes there near the Hatchie River. And so we get a bunch of stuff on the Hatchie River. But
The Hatchie River.
yeah, we love it, but it's not like it's the best place for a hike. It's just it's closest. It's close to us.
Close, fun to drive through.
Right.
Stop and look a couple times, and when it's not flooded like now.
Yeah.
How about this picture? This one is called Chow.
Okay, Hatchie River. So we probably got a majority of our. So it's near Brownsville, Tennessee. There's a Hatchie Wildlife Reserve there. It's a big green strip on your way to Memphis from Jackson. It's just you cross the Hatchie River, and there's a strip maybe 2 miles wide, but probably 30 or 40 miles long. That's just a wildlife refuge there, and maybe it's not quite, maybe 30 miles long. But
and what I'm seeing here, let me describe what I'm seeing and tell me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
So, as I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the left side. Obviously, a tree. There's a thinner tree that's like in front of that tree that kind of goes up and to the left at an angle, and then right to that bigger tree, there's a smaller tree. But then it looks like on the left side of that smaller tree, something's partially poking out, and then on the right side of that tree, there's definitely something big right behind it. It does not match any of the other trees. It looks like it's a grayish, like dirty white color, and then if I'm not mistaken, you see like a a circle or a dot or whatever, but to me, I think that's the nose and that's the muzzle. Am I correct in what I'm looking at?
That is exactly correct. It almost looks like it's kind of maybe the butt or the hind end that's sticking out a little lower on what I'm looking at is the left hand, and then the right hand's the head, and the head's sticking out higher. It's just kind of peeking around from behind the tree. But I will say something, many times these creatures are going to blend perfectly with their background, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's pareidolia, because some of our clearest, most obvious pictures, it's almost like they're chameleons or something. It's crazy and bizarre, but yes, sir, you're saying the right thing there.
All right, you guys. Now I'm telling you, I explained it to RD and Brenda that they sent a picture. Now I'm going to show you what they sent me, and then I blew the picture up. But trust me, you are going to know what you're looking at when I show you this picture. And when I saw this, all I'm going to say is the first word that came out of my mouth was holy. And then the next one started with an F, and then the third one started with an S.
Yeah.
And so when I saw these, and I just had a big grin on my face, I'm like, are you kidding me? You guys, take a look at this picture. Okay, I'm going to let you look at that one for a second. And then I'm going to show you the same picture where I was able to blow up a little better. Okay, this one is labeled female Bigfoot. My first sighting, and my actually only sighting, was of a female Bigfoot. And correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm looking at here, you're shooting a picture between, I don't know if it's a fallen tree and a standing tree, but you have the head, you can get part of the face. If you go down from the chin a little bit, you see a breast, if not two. What we're looking at is a left shoulder and arm that's going down towards the waist. You see her torso, and then you see one of her legs.
Yes, exactly.
That's correct. That's actually a picture of my girlfriend before Brenda and I got married.
Oh, man, you're sleeping on the couch tonight. No, just kidding.
But you guys, see, I moved on up. But
you guys, like, seriously, you guys, that as soon as I opened up that picture, I was just ear to ear smiling. And, you know, I said what I said, and my daughter, she's like, what are you looking at? And I go, you got to look at it. She's like, Dad, it's not real. It's probably a tree. I'm like, okay, whatever, kid. You know, but talk to me about that sighting, where you were at, what you were doing. You just don't see things like that.
Sure. I wish we could say it was a sighting. It was just a zoom in from a photo, but we knew we were close to Bigfoot. That's the real thing. And of course, we tell everything about how we do it in our book, but the real thing is to know when to take photos and zoom. It was raining. Did you want to, Brenda, by the way, I do most of the talking. I couldn't do anything without Brenda. I mean, she does all the tech for me. I wouldn't even know how to be on here tonight. She's just like amazing. And she takes better pictures of most of these things than I do. So some of the ones that I don't say I took it, it's because she did. And so, but anyhow, with this one, it was in Tishomingo County, Mississippi State Park. At the very back, there's a dam, and we love dams. We love elevated areas. Just like anybody taking a picture of anything, the higher your elevation, it puts you at an advantage. And there was nobody there. It was kind of rainy, so most people were staying in. And we got up on the back of that dam, and we just kind of knew that we were in the right place, and started taking some pictures. Got home, zoomed through, and saw it. I like to say it was spectacular. We saw her, run across at 50 yards, but we didn't see anything that day. As most days we take, most of our better pictures, probably the best ones, we never saw anything.
Yeah.
The ones that once you see them, it's hard to photograph them, but most of the best ones we just zoomed through like this. We knew she was there. We went back to that place, heard some wood knocks, cut a couple of videos for TikTok. But anyhow, not much to the story other than we were standing on the back of the dam looking down. That's one of the things. We always look for water. We look for elevated positions. We look for long lines of view. Mm-hmm. And we scan through and we're like, oh my goodness, that's a female. So
that's one of his favorite ones to show to everybody. Any place we go, a restaurant, gas station, that's the one he shows to everybody.
But
Yeah.
believe it or not, our top 50 countdown of 2023, I don't think she might have been number 14 or something, but she didn't make it. You know, we've got what I consider better pictures, but most people really like that picture.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm in love with the picture, and with your permission, I might take it and blow it up and frame it and put it in my office when I get my office done, because I want to have like this wall that I have right here.
Yeah.
I'm building a podcast table, and I'm gonna place it like right here, and I'm gonna have a wall of either pictures, or maybe over here I'll have them, but I'll probably have a green screen or something like that behind me. But you know, it's just one of those pictures that you know, guests have sent me, that honestly I think it's good enough to be. It's obviously, excuse me, in your book, correct?
No, well, we're re-editing our book, so it's going to be in the new copy. We got her right as we were closing down the book, and we were trying to the first book, the Bigfoot Finders, and we have a lot of the pictures in there. But the truth is, we have some of our very best photos in there. But the Bigfoot Finders is more about how we do it and how anybody can go out and do it. Anybody can take pictures of these things once they learn how. There's just some secrets to it, you know, once you learn those, you can get out and get pictures like this. The problem most people do is they wait till they see the creature to take the picture.
Right.
And that's one of the main things. But yeah, in our re-edited version, probably that will be out in about somewhere between 2 weeks and 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's a good time frame.
She's going to be in it. She made the new edit.
So I see your two books right there. Do you guys want to kind of pull them out in front of you guys, so
Sure.
people viewing can check them out? So that's Bigfoot Finders, and the other one is called Beyond Bigfoot,
Beyond
Cryptids, Portals, and Multidimensional Beings. Where can people get these?
Sure. The best place to get anything that we have, and we're an open book, man. People talk to us on TikTok. We'll share everything, but you don't get everything till you buy the book because it's all in one place. You'd have to watch 100 videos for it, but it's our website, www.thebigfootfinders.com. And it's got links to the books, links there. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on a lot of other places, but Amazon's probably the easiest. But going to the website is by far the easiest. And you can also sign up for a newsletter. You know, check us out. We've got some pictures on there as well. Quite a few we didn't show tonight. And it tells a little bit about us, or if people want us for speaking engagements or whatever. But yeah, www.thebigfootfinders.com. Get you everything we got. So.
Perfect. Well, you guys, we're almost at the hour mark. I'd like you guys to stay in the lobby, because I want to show you a couple things that someone had sent me. But you guys, again, I can't thank you enough. I don't know if I reached out to you or if you guys reached out to me on TikTok. I just started the whole TikTok thing with my podcast. I have a personal TikTok, and all I'm doing is I'm looking at guys building survival structures. And that's pretty much all I watch, because I'm fascinated by it too. But again, you guys can find them on TikTok. And what is your TikTok channel?
The Bigfoot Finders.
I think if you just look up the Bigfoot Finders, you get us.
Okay.
We're so technically challenged. That's one problem that we have. Is
the.bigfoot.finders.
Okay, perfect. So the.bigfoot.finders. Do you guys have a presence on YouTube?
Yes, we do.
We don't do a whole lot on YouTube, but we are on YouTube as well, and we post some of our stuff there as
And
well.
we're the Bigfoot Finders on YouTube.
Okay, the Bigfoot Finders on YouTube. So with that being said, you guys, thank you so much. I am so grateful for you guys coming on. It's some amazing pictures, and I can't wait to have you guys back on a part 2.
You're such a gracious host, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. And by the way, my mom's name was Brenda as well. So it's a great name. All right.
Yes.
All right. So you guys, if you guys just hang out in the lobby a second, I'm going to close this up, and then I'll be right back to you guys. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, guys, that's our show for tonight. Again, what great guests, and here's the thing. Some people may look at this video like, oh yeah, they've seen so much. They've done this, they've done that, whatever. But you guys got to understand, RD is a traveling salesman. He is out on the road a lot. and he does what he does. He stops, he takes pictures, he just kind of hangs out. And when they go out and they do their investigation, they're taking pictures. They smell something, sense something, hear something, they're snapping pictures. They're not looking at a specific thing. They're just taking pictures of the environment around them. Do they catch something every time? Probably not. But 1 out of 100, 2 out of 200, whatever, they're catching something. And we saw some of the proof tonight. So that being said, you guys, if anybody out there, again, has ever had an encounter and you'd like to come on the show and share that encounter, please email me at the cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Again, the cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. If you don't want to come on the show, but you still want me to have your story, I'll safeguard your story. And if you'd like me to read it, I'm starting to do a listener's email podcast. I'll probably do that once or episode, I should say. I'll probably do that 1 or twice a month. And just emails that you guys have sent me. And I'll read those on air. Again, thank you so much for all your guys' support. I couldn't be here doing what I'm doing without your guys' support. So thank you so much. As my buddy Josh always says, stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, a legend always begins with a sighting. Have a great night, guys. I'll talk to you later.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?